had gathered evidence to formulate a PC that we submitted to the court, and the judge did find probable cause for an arrest of Richard Allen. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German.
Still an incredibly shocking day. This was, again, someone who wasn't even on the radar, Richard Allen. He's saying he is innocent. Prosecutors say they have the evidence on this guy. Big development, as we reported when it happened. The defense said, we want cameras in the courtroom. We want cameras in the courtroom. We want the public to see this case. Very unusual for the defense to want cameras in the courtroom. And lo and behold, the state's response. I couldn't believe it. I was floored. I was shocked. Take a look. The state's response to the defense motion for broadcasting. Broadcasting of pretrial and trial proceedings create the same concerns, if not more, given that an attorney is immune from libel proceedings for statements made in open court. So why is that a reason to keep cameras out of the courtroom? I'm trying to figure that one out. Let's bring back in our guests, Alice LaCour, Brett Talley, Anya Kane, and Kevin Greenlee. Brett, I'm really troubled by, and I know I have a conflict of interest working at Court TV. I get it. But I felt this way before I worked here. I thought our government was open and free, and we should see everything that happens that our government is doing. And my father thought the same thing. He was a federal judge, but they were prohibited by the Supreme Court of allowing cameras in the courtroom. But what does libel have to do with keeping cameras out of the courtroom? Is there anything? Like that, to me, that's utterly sophomoric and ridiculous. But is there something to it?
Well, I think I would say a couple things. Number one, the courtroom's going to be open. People are going to be there. Reporters are going to be there. They're going to report on it. Lori Vallow case wasn't broadcast. I think it went just fine. I think these prosecutors don't want this turning into O.J. Simpson.
Okay, I'll stop you right there, Brett. I'll stop you right there. What was wrong with Casey Anthony? What happened in Casey Anthony that was wrong? Who didn't get a fair trial?
Well, I mean, what happened in Casey Anthony? Who didn't get a fair trial? Well, the victim didn't get a fair trial in Casey Anthony, and I think that's the concern here. Their victims are going to be in that courtroom. They're 2 innocent girls.
So is it the victim or the defendant that doesn't get fair trials?
The defendant will have an open courtroom with the press reporting every single thing that happens. But what won't happen is the defense has already filed one motion that described Richard Allen as being treated like a prisoner of war and used a photograph of him in a workout shirt, and another motion that seeks to reinstate the satanic panic in an attempt to drive the public crazy. There are legitimate reasons for the prosecution to be concerned about what these defense attorneys will do if they get to perform in front.
They don't want the public to hear the defense speak. That's what it sounds like to me. Anya and Kevin, let me read the next one. Managing the broadcast media that is imposed in the court may become distracting, considering the number of media outlets that may request access to the broadcast. Does he know how it works? You put one outfit puts a camera in there, everyone else plugs into our feed. Like, I get it, Indiana, you never had cameras before, but we've been doing it since 1991. Not one case has been overturned based upon a camera in a courtroom. I can stack up the not guilties and the guilties. I have spoken to the jurors afterwards. They don't even notice the cameras in the courtroom. They base it on the evidence, and they listen to the judge when the judge gives them instructions on what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do. This next one has me. I told you it was going to get a little hot in here. Allowing cameras, here we go, this is a circus. Allowing cameras can create a circus atmosphere, both in person and online. Okay, so now the prosecutor wants to control what people can say online. I think we have an amendment about that. I think it's the first. Then he says 15-second clips can be taken out of context. What is the context? The context is the trial. You put a camera in there, the public sees the whole trial. Court TV's been doing it since 1991. I know I'm preaching to myself here, and I'm not mad at Brett, I'm not mad at Alice, I'm not mad at anyone. I'm just upset when members, people who work for the people don't want the people to see the work that they're doing. Because that's what it is. Anya, you look like you want to say something.
I do. I'm pro-camera, but I will say this fits into the context of this case in that in the previous instance of this sort of news cycle happening, we had the defense release a very, very dramatic and, colorfully written transport demand for Richard Allen to be moved from prison. And then Nick McClellan put out a kind of a shorter response in a filing. And then he debunked a lot of it in a hearing where he was basically like, I don't really disagree with the defense, what they're asking for, but I'm going to smack them down based on what they're claiming about the case. So we see this as him essentially doing the same thing, where he's saying, I don't really care that much, because he says so in the filing. He's raising issues. He's not necessarily asking that Judge Gull ban cameras. He's just saying, here would be the issues with it. So this seems very tailored to Judge Gull, who, of course, is a pioneering judge in the state. She was part of the pilot program to allow cameras in, so she might be inclined to do it based on that. But he's basically saying, I think it's him using this as an opportunity to like poke the eyes of the defense and say, you guys are grandstanders and you're being ridiculous. So I kind of see it more in that context, I suppose.
I get it. Alice, do you think they're going to want to control what the defense says at the trial? Like, I don't understand. I've never seen a prosecutor, and I'm a former prosecutor, and, on this show, people say, why do you always take the prosecution's side? Because most people are guilty that get indicted. I mean, the overwhelming majority of them are. That's just the facts, right? People don't like to hear that fact, but that is the fact. Why? What are we afraid of here? Like, the defense can make all these arguments, right? They're going to make arguments in front of the jury. I mean, that's all that matters is what happens in the courtroom. So I don't understand how a camera affects what arguments are made and aren't made in front of the 12 people who will decide what happened here.
I think those are all great points. And I actually, personally, because I don't live in Indiana, want a camera because I want to see it. But I actually think Anya is onto something. I think this is actually a more tailored filing. I think here, the prosecution is actually throwing a bunch of reasons at the judge to consider. Should the judge, and the judge may actually allow cameras in, this is kind of the prosecution's opportunity to say, don't forget all these things. And one thing I'd really like to note, and it comes on the second to last page of, I agree, a long litany of reasons that sometimes made me feel like I had whiplash. What I found really compelling was the fact that there's never been cameras in this courtroom, and they may not know how to control all the aspects of having cameras in the courtroom. Things to consider. This is a very gruesome, tragic murder of young girls. There will be witnesses who may be minors or witnesses who are vulnerable. There's going to be lots of sidebars. This is going to be a very sensitive trial with the type of information that's going to come out. And it takes a lot of, as you know from working on TV, a lot of choreographing to make sure that the cameras are aimed away from certain people at certain times, such as jurors.
Alice, we're out of time. I don't mean to be rude. I'm sorry, but we're out of time for this segment. But I will say this. We've done trials just like this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. We've got the library since 1991. It's nothing new. It might be new to Indiana, but it's relatively straightforward and simple. We don't show the jurors. If there's a minor, the judge says, all right, turn all the cameras away. Period. It's easy. Sidebars. All microphones are down.